Welcome back to a new Nuzlocke video. I know it's been too long since I've uploaded anything and it's a bit too complicated and long-winded to explain, but if this video does well then sure, I'll make a permanent return to YouTube, why not? Anyways, I've gotten rusty at Nuzlocking and randomly felt like doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Blaze Black 2 Redux, the latest Drayano game. And though it was pretty huge at release, honestly this game's kinda died down quite a lot. Just not a lot of people are playing it anymore, it's kind of a shame. But you will kind of see why in this video. The main reason is simply just due to the lack of balance in this game in Nuzlocking. Do you know that this current version of the game has received some significant updates from the year before that actually makes the early game harder? Yeah, you heard me. The one thing that everyone complained about Blaze Black 2 Redux on launch was the early game difficulty, was the one thing that the developer made even worse. Overall, this game is very stressful to Nuzlocke and is very encounter reliant, though there is fun to be had with it. If you try this challenge then good luck, because you will need it. The rules I used are standard hardcore Nuzlocke rules, obviously. Challenge mode only, help me. You might want to play normal mode though, it's up to you. Also, you must play on the no EV patch to remove all effort values, as they're kind of an overpowered mechanic and kind of cheap. Also, this time around, setup moves will be banned, like power up punch and work up. I think flame charge was the only exception. Definitely no shell smash and dragon dance for sure. I also allowed myself to make a save state at the start of the game with an optimal starter with good nature and IVs, right as the Nuzlocke starts. This way, I don't have to waste time resetting for a good starter and skipping all the cutscenes. So with this established, can I beat this game a third time in the Nuzlocke? Especially now that the game is actually harder than ever? Well, it's Blaze Black 2 reduxing time. Okay, so start the run, and I choose to pick Oshawott as a starter. I think it is the best one, and most people who play this game quite a lot would agree with me. Water type is really good, also because you guarantee the Fire Monkey, which is very nice for early game. Shell Armor is just an incredibly good ability. It's one of the best abilities in Nuzlocking. Pretty good stats with amazing moveset for early game, like Razor Shell and Aqua Jet. In Brine is also pretty useful. Oshawott is considered a safe starter for early game, so I'd go for that. Now what I do is I reset for a specific encounter on the first route. I reset to get either Purloin, Patrat, or Ledian, or Ledibug I guess, or Krugatoon. One of those 4 mons, which I think you should be encountering them like 50% of the time, so you're not going to have to reset that much at all to get them. I think those 4 mons are all optimal for early game. I get Purloin, which might actually be the best one. Purloin is pretty solid, it's really good for Roxy, it's usable for Berg as well, it's good for a few other boss fights as well. Fast Dark type, decent attack, it gets Fake Out. That's pretty useful, and it evolves for Roxy, countering the Ghastly. So really nice mon, you want to get that. Then obviously you get your Gift Monkey. The IVs on your Panseer can matter, but most people would agree that it probably is the most useful monkey. Unfortunately the developer nerfed it so it no longer gets Flame Burst, which is really unfortunate. I don't know why the developer had to nerf the early game. As if it wasn't hard enough already, but whatever. The first few trainers really are no issue. Then I get my next encounter. It's a P-Dove. It does really whatever. You could use it a little bit against Roxy. It's not really that useful against Berg. You'd think it would, but its stats just aren't good enough. It is a special attacker, and Unfezant has decent stats, but I don't think his moveset gets good until later on. It's really whatever. Then in Flokesi Ranch I get a Marip, which is not bad, but it's not amazing either. You can get Static, which is always useful to have. Flaffy can be useful for Roxy, and when it becomes Ampharos after Berg, it can be pretty nice with a Dragon type. So with all this, we go and fight Hugh, and he's just a really easy boss fight. Oshawott in your Fire Monkey basically deal with this fight. You should not have any issues. A free fight. We do get the egg after this, and this could be one of several different baby mons. Make sure you hatch this in the gate, so you get the gate as a hatch area to comply with Nuzlocke rules. There's some really good ones, like I think Elekid's really nice, and Litwick is very good, but then Cupchew's really bad. I get Elgium, and I thought this was pretty bad, but this actually is useful against Roxy, because it can hit with really strong psychic moves. And this actually has Synchronized Jolly, which is pretty good. Being able to synchronize a plus speed nature can be pretty useful, especially if you do make it to late game. You can get a lot of use out of that, so I'll take this encounter. Now this is where we have the first real hurdle of this run. The first proper difficult boss fight, the double battle Plasma Grunt in Flokesi Ranch. This guy is really hard. Now, you probably won't wipe to him, but it's really hard to beat him without losing anything. If you lose one Mon, at least in this fight, you probably should just reset, because if you're losing Mons this early, you're setting yourself up for failure. Unfortunately, there is no guaranteed way to beat him, so you kind of have to just use the Mons that you have and just try to play as best as you can. I would recommend getting all of your Mons up to level 13. Some of them could potentially go to 14 if you really wanted to, and just try to do the best that you can. I like to lead off with Oshawott. Even after Intimidate, Razor Shell still does good damage. Purloin's a pretty good lead because it baits out the fighting move from Mienfu, and it's faster, and it can also go for Fake Out, so Mienfu won't be using Fake Out itself. So you fake out the Mienfu, and Oshawott can start firing off Razor Shells. I would probably go for the Mienfu, take that out first, because that thing is quite a threat. The Growlithe doesn't do that much damage. It either goes for Helping Hand or goes for Double Battle Incinerate, which isn't really that strong, or Snarl, so it's whatever. You take that out, and you just have to handle the other threats as they come out, really. The Joltik is really frail, and it can hit decently hard, but you just need to take a hit from Joltik, then hit it back once or twice, and it should go down. But the Axew, that is a real threat. Axew it's got pretty good typing because it can resist all of your water and fire moves, which is really annoying. It has Mold Breaker, so your Oshawott with Shell Armor can still get crit against it, so not even Oshawott is safe. It can outspeed a decent amount of Mons. His moveset is just really dangerous. Breaking Swipe hits 2 Mons and lowers the attack. And Axew has insane attack stat for this point in the game. It also has, I think, Rock Tomb, which can deal serious damage to your fire type. I absolutely had to dodge crits in this fight. It was not a very pleasant experience. Luckily, Marip and Pidove were able to hang on and deal with that Axew enough so my other Mons could finish it off, but one crit and this run would have been over right here. But thankfully I managed to get over this fight, but my team is pretty battered. At least after this, the next couple trainers are pretty easy, and even the ones in Charon's gym, they're not much of an issue. Just be careful with XP management because the level cap is 14. You do have the option of fighting Roxanne, but I personally did not think it was worth it. You don't actually need the berry juice that much, and I couldn't really be bothered planning it. Honestly, this split in this part of the game is actually really fast, but there's so many cutscenes. Like, no, I am not interested in your medals, you idiot. And Aldous just keeps jumping me. Look at his hair. It looks like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, yee-ass haircut. Get out of here. Well, anyways, now we go to Charon, and this is another big Gatekeeper boss fight. It's almost literally impossible to do this fight completely risklessly. There will almost always be some amount of RNG. Multiple of his mons are threats. Really dangerous. In the lead especially, Porygon is not nice. I think Oshawott, especially if you start with an Oshawott with adamant nature and really good IVs, it is pivotal for this fight. Oshawott is incredibly good and you will see why. The problem is, you need to set up the Oshawott so it can sweep. I found a way to do this, though was pretty risky. My strategy was to lead off with Pantier against Porygon. It can take 2 Swifts, though a crit will do something like 90% to it. Luckily I did not get crit, but I did yawn the Porygon. It went for workup, which is really scary, but it went for workup twice, which meant I could yawn it, then go into Oshawott, then it goes asleep, then Oshawott can potentially 2-shot it. If it hit me with Swift at +1, there's a really good chance I would have just lost the fight right there. Thankfully Oshawott was able to hit it, get the defense drop, which is 50% chance, and then obviously just KO it again with a defense drop. It is possible to 2-shot the Porygon without the defense drop, but you need max attack, adamant nature with muscle band, which I had, but it's still not guaranteed. But if you get defense drop, then yeah, you're just taking it out. And your Oshawott is now in safely, it's level 15 and it's just a really strong mon at this point. Lillipup comes in and this thing's really dangerous if it goes for boosted retaliate, so you want to make sure it doesn't do that. It goes for workup, and Thunderfang is its strongest move anyways. It almost always goes for workup, especially when Oshawott is at full health. Which is good, meaning that Oshawott can just Razor Shell it, and then just use a priority Aqua Jet to snipe it and get the KO there. Deerling, this is another mon that's really dangerous, because it's pretty fast, and it has Headbutt which deals a lot of damage, especially with workup. Pansear can beat it 1v1, it can somewhat counter it, but if it gets hit by crit, you're in a lot of trouble. Luckily this Deerling froze and decides to go for workup again. If it went for Headbutt, I would have just gotten destroyed by crit. But thankfully my monkey was able to take out this Deerling. Then Apom comes out, and from here Oshawott can just take the fight. From here really, it just sweeps at this point. If you can clear out the Deerling and the Porygon, Oshawott can just clean up shop here. Most of the mons, especially if Oshawott is at high health, they will choose to set up rather than attacking. That's really good because Oshawott can almost always just 2-shot whatever's in its path. Because it has priority Aqua Jet, you're effectively just destroying the mon in one turn, which is really good. I even hit level 16, making me so much stronger. Even Doduo doesn't really do much. It tries to set up again, and even though I don't KO it, I've got the priority to finish it off. At this point, the Munchlax just can't really do anything to me. Hell, even that gets 2-shotted. This is why Oshawott is such a good starter. But this was definitely not a riskless fight. It all depended on what the Porygon did. If you're picking the other 2 starters, yeah, you're obviously not doing the strategy, so be very careful, but at least we got the first gym badge. Unfortunately, the game is not getting that much easier from here on out. Yikes. I mean, I do get to evolve some mons. I get the nice juicy Dewott, and the Flaffy, and the Liepard, which is really Pogster at this point in the game. Oh god. Most of the regular trainers here are easy enough. There's this double battle here, which it could take you off guard. I think I did have to reset to this fight once on an earlier run because I didn't look at the docs. I wasn't really prepared and I was under leveled, but take this fight seriously and you'll beat it easily enough, really. Now you go to Verbank and you get your encounters before Roxy. This split is really fast. Like, you beat Charid, you go to Verbank, and then you're already basically at the second gym. But it's pretty fast though, so I'm not complaining. I get so lucky on Outer Verbank Complex. I get Spearow, and this is such a good mon. It's really good for Roxy. It's just a really powerful mon for this point in the game. It's really good for Roxy because it can counter the Ivysaur. This one ended up being Intimidate with Jolly Nature and Max Attack IVs. Oh baby. Really good. It's also really good for another certain boss fight which I will show you. This is potentially the best encounter in this area, so I lucked out there. Really, on god. In the Inner Verbank Complex, the trainers there are really easy. I get Magpies, 2 Magpies, I just tried to manipulate their abilities. I get the one that has flame body, it doesn't really matter that much, but this is pretty useful later on. It's usable now. You could bring it to Roxy if you really wanted to, but it's nice for a burg, I guess, so I catch the Maccabee. Then the next mon I get is you get the guaranteed gift mon in Verbank City. You get one of the Kanto starters. I would say War Turtle is almost always the best option. Blastoise is almost always a good mon in any Nuzlocke. But in this game, first of all, it gets Shell Armor 50% of the time, and Shell Armor is one of the best, obviously the best abilities in the game. It makes this mon so tanky and so reliable. But its moveset makes it very good for Roxy, and you will see Rapid Spin, Water Pulse, and Aqua Jet with good bulk. And pretty solid stats for this point in the game. It even gets a lot of great use later on with Fake Out, for example, which is really nice. It's a mon that I would really recommend getting, and this is the preferred lead for Roxy, which I will show you in a second. So now that I've got all these mons, get them all ready, I decide to go for a sussy move. Now usually I ignore Brawly, but people keep saying Meditite is so good, you really want to fight Brawly, you really want to go at Meditite, and usually Brawly's team is really scary, but I think I can beat him this time. I think getting the Meditite is worth it. So it is a very good mon, especially because Medicham got buffed. So I go and fight Brawly. Brawly will only give you the Meditite egg if you beat him before Roxy, which is why this fight is so challenging, because you have to beat them at the level cap. But I have a way of doing this. So War Turtle is really good against his lead, because the Monferno, it gets walled out by War Turtle, and you can prevent it from setting up Stealth Rocks because you have Rapid Spin and you can check it really well. So that's good. I do take some damage, but I basically take out the Monferno while removing the Stealth Rocks. Stealth Rocks could make the fight pretty messy, and you don't want to deal with that, so I take that out. Next in is Meditite, and this thing is incredibly powerful, which you will see later on when I get it myself. Spoiler alert, I get the Meditite by beating Brawly. But so this is the one caveat of this strategy, is that I basically have to sack him on here. I can't be greedy. There is no 100% guaranteed way for me to beat this fight. I have to risk, and instead of risking my best mons, I choose to sack the mon that I need the least, which is basically Tranquil, because Fearow is just Tranquil but much better at this point in the game. So I basically just sack Tranquil to Meditite. I actually do almost take it out, surprisingly, but that's whatever. But now Meditite is chipped, I can safely send in my Fearow with Muscle Band and max attack IVs, and this could start racking up some KOs. Because the Meditite is a flying resist berry, Fearow cannot one-shot it at full health, and it doesn't really want to switch into Meditite either, which is scary. Then Machop comes out, and this also just gets beaten. It decides to go for a Rock Slide instead of using Bulk Up to set up. It didn't even matter, because I just take out the Machop, Magahita comes in, and that gets one-shotted, leaving only the final Sock. Now this thing is really scary, because obviously it's got amazing stats at this point in the game. Is Dual Chop in Reversal, but Duo, turns out, can actually potentially beat this 1 versus 1. Now I was able to get the Razor Shell defense drop, which means I can just beat it in one more hit plus an Aqua Jet, which is really nice. But even without the defense drop, you can probably take it out anyways by pivoting into something else. Dual Chop isn't too much damage because it's not stab, but I am able to beat the Sock and beat Brawly, which is really cool, honestly. Like, I usually never do this fight before Roxy. Now I get the Meditite egg, and make sure obviously that you hatch it in the gates, and this mon will be incredible when it evolves into Medicham. Medicham got buffed, as if it even needed it, but yeah. You can also bring Meditite to Roxy if you want, but I didn't end up doing that. So now onto Roxy, and this is probably one of the hardest fights in the game. It's extremely hard to do this fight without losing anyone. Her mons are just incredibly powerful. The lead Trubbish is very problematic. Toxic Spikes, which could literally just make you lose instantly if you don't have an answer for it. And Explosion, which you love Explosion. You love it when an AI can just randomly explode on you, real talk. But this is why War Turtle is such an incredible mon. My strat for this is use yawn then rapid spin, turn 1 and turn 2. This is because in the several attempts I've actually gotten past Roxy, Trubbish will always try to toxic spike, turn 1 and turn 2. So you put Trubbish to sleep and you remove the toxic spikes and get a little bit of chip. While it's asleep, you try and chip down and KO the Trubbish as much as you can with Water Pulse. Now it could wake up. Here the strat didn't actually go too much to plan. The Trubbish was able to wake up and set up a toxic spike, but I was able to take out the Trubbish at least without taking any damage. But now there's one layer of toxic spikes which I have to remove, otherwise Venoshock will destroy my team. And here's the real problem, Quillfish is coming in. In this Quillfish, it basically has random AI. It can explode at any point. I've seen this thing explode turn 2 while at full health. Sometimes it can just use Aqua Jet my War Turtle for some reason. Sometimes it will Venoshock. Sometimes it will use Revenge. So I have to get rid of the Rapid Spin, but I also need to ideally yawn it so something else can handle it. Because this Quillfish basically has no counters. And it's a mon that I probably will have to sack to. I brought a sack for this Quillfish just in case I'm not able to beat it safely. Thankfully the Quillfish does not go for Explosion, and I am able to Rapid Spin, then I'm able to yawn it. I don't know why this Quillfish goes for Aqua Jet on my War Turtle, but okay. Then I'm able to somehow go into my Flaffy, and it's able to take the hit, and now Quillfish is asleep, and I'm thankfully able to take out this Quillfish. It doesn't wake up, which is really lucky. There's a really good chance that the Quillfish would have just woken up and used Explosion and destroyed my Flaffy, but at least I weakened it enough so something else could Revenge KO it. But Flaffy being able to beat that Quillfish, it's so good. It means that threat is out of the way. At this point I'm in a really good position in this fight. It's basically just RNG reliant. I lucked out. A lot of you will not get this lucky, so yeah. Next in is Whirlipede, and this thing is also really hard to deal with. With Duot, you do have a near guaranteed answer, but it's actually kind of close. I would recommend EXP sharing the Duot, so it can usually most of the time counter the Whirlipede, because it can only use Venoshock, which doesn't deal that much damage, and you can spam Razor Shell then Brine to take out the Whirlipede. Because I'm Adamant Nature, Brine doesn't actually do a lot of damage, and defense drops make it so you can take out the Whirlipede pretty easily. But Duot is able to handle the Whirlipede this time and use Aqua Jet to KO it, because it does have speed boost. It's kind of a speed demon. Now Coughing is here, and yeah, this thing is quite a threat. Of all the mons on Roxy's team, you wouldn't think that the Coughing is that scary, but it really is. With Eviolite, it's such a bulky backa, and it has Flamethrower, Venoshock, Toxic, and Thunderbolt, so it hits so many things super effectively. Flaffy is able to switch in and deal a lot of damage to it, but unfortunately I had to stay in and sack the Flaffy. I could not risk switching in something else and having it take a lot of damage, because I need Fearow and Liepard to take out the Ivysaur and Ghastly, and Elgium is kind of too slow, so I just had to beat it with this. At least by sacking Flaffy, it means that Elgium can safely come in and it no longer has to dodge a crit to beat the Coughing. Now you might be thinking, wait, could I just switch into like War Turtle and outspeed the Coughing and KO it? Why go into Elgium? Well, there's actually a reason for this. By having my Elgium take out the Coughing, it beats in Ghastly next, which I really need to do because I want to take out the Ghastly first. This is because this Ghastly, it has Icy Wind and Giga Drain, and those two moves, along with Venoshock, they can just completely destroy Liepard. If they crit Liepard, Liepard is no longer a counter for Ghastly, and if Icy Winds in Liepard is going to be slower, so I need to bait in Hex, or I cannot beat the Ghastly guaranteed, and Elgium is the only mon that does that. So now that I do bait out the Hex, Liepard can safely come in and always beat this Ghastly, which is excellent. It's really nice. This just leaves the final mon, Ivysaur. I beat this thing with Fearow, but it actually can be pretty pesky because it likes to use Leech Seed and Protect and Black Sludge Stall, but I'm able to beat it. It's not too difficult. But with this, I've beaten a second gym in this game. It was really challenging. I had to really strategize for this fight, and it felt like it really could have gone wrong. I lucked out. Literally every boss fight in this game, you'll hear me say that I lucked out, because I really did. Unfortunately, that's just what this game is like. This game is just really rough. At least now the game does ease up a little bit, until Berg at least. Most of these fights are not too difficult. Some double battles. I think I do have to dodge 1 or 2 crits at some point, just because I misplay, which is really dumb. But yeah, you could just overlevel these fights and they're pretty easy. You do have to fight Bryson, which is another boss fight, but you can overlevel this fight by quite a bit. I can use a Meditite here, and with Fake Out it goes off really hard. Delibird is kind of pesky. I had to use Wartortle to beat this. But then the AI actually switched into Smoochum with Dry Skin, because switching AI. The Smoochum is really dangerous. This thing with Focus Sash and Nasty Plot and Side Beam could just wreak havoc on your team. But Lipord is a really good counter, because Smoochum usually goes for Psychic Move as the strongest move, which Lipord could just switch in, Fake Out, Break Sash, Outspeed, Destroy with Dark Move. Really easy. Then at this point you could just beat the rest of his team. You overlevel him by quite a bit. Just be careful with Delibird, he's got really good stats, and Shelter doesn't really do much. With this we go to Chad-ilicious City, and we get access to quite a few more encounters. I go to Route 4 straight away. I go to do my encounter in the sand. I get Dwebble. That's pretty useful, I guess. In the sewer I get Gulpin. It evolves into Swalot and it gets some nice moveset. Bulky enough poison types. It's good for this point of the game, but it will fall off super hard. I finally evolved my Fire Monkey, and this thing is going to be really useful. Now, at this point, there is a really challenging boss fight. The 2 versus 2 Plasma Grunt double battle in the sewers with Hugh. That fight is very obnoxious, and it's another one of those fights where there is almost always going to be some amount of RNG in it. So what I would recommend to mitigate this is to do all the other battles first, so you gain XP from those, and then you do Hugh like last thing in a Berg split. If you do the Hugh battle first with the Plasma Grunts, you're going to have to do them at a lower level, because otherwise you'll just run out of XP management for the rest of the split, so I'd recommend doing that later. I go to the battle company and I clear out most of the trainers there. I beat the guy in charge of the battle company. It's actually, he wasn't too hard, even though I was pretty low level for it. You do get a really good egg for clearing out the battle company, and you get a gift in Chad-ilicious City, which is really useful. I go to get my guaranteed Johto starter gift, and almost literally everyone recommends get Chikorita. It is the best one. I know Cyndaquil used to be really good, and in Renegade Platinum it's the bomb, but it got nerfed to oblivion. Meganium was a really good mon, bulky grass, fairy, good moves. It's so useful later on. Fairy types are really good in this game, so I would recommend getting Chikorita. It's a very solid mon. Oh yeah, there is this one trainer in the battle company who's a Watchog. Be very careful of that Watchog. Boosted Retaliate can KO so many things. Almost literally anything that's not resisted will get killed by it. Shell Armor Dewott can take the Boosted Retaliate, so that's pretty good. I do have a Rock type, which is kind of useful, I guess. After beating everyone in the battle company, I get my gift egg, which is really good. Now this battle company gift egg, it's one of 4 mons at random. It's kind of like the trainer school in Renegade Platinum. It's either Stunky, Mr. Mime, Bonsley, or Glameow, all of which are pretty useful, I would say. They all have their ups and downs and are all pretty useful for Berg. I hatched mine into Mr. Mime, and this is a really good mon. Psychic Fairy, buff stats, it gets Filter in Technician, it gets Fake Out, which is very useful, and this is a hasty nature, so it's really fast. It's really good typing. What's not to love? Now, after this, now that I've cleared a battle company, you can talk to the scientists, and if you've beaten battle company, and you have a Pokedex of 160 seen mons, he will give you an Eviolite and you really want this Eviolite as soon as possible. It just makes the split much easier. Now I can evolve some mons. You can actually evolve Magpie into Magmar because it got evolution level reduced from 30 to 29, which is pretty useful. And now I go to do the 2 vs 2 plasma fight, and because this is the last thing in the split and I've already got all the good stuff like the Eviolites, I can go to a really high level in this fight because there's barely anything to do after this. And this strategy actually works really well because I'm high level. This fight is much easier than usual. Eviolite Magmar can really pop off. It can start KOing everything on Aridos' side of the screen, and you just leave the Skorupi, that thing just stays there and spams like acupressure and it doesn't do a lot of damage. Golbat also doesn't end up doing much, and I think it attacks for Servine. It ends up missing anyways and Servine glares it, which is pretty funny. I take that out. The final Farfetch'd on that Grunt's team is very dangerous, but thankfully it sees kill on Hugh's Servine, so it will attack that, meaning my Magmar is just free to get a strong hit on Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd having acrobatics at this point in the game is ludicrously powerful, and it has insanely good stats, but it does have Defeatist, so if you can just land one good hit on Farfetch'd, it'll basically be in Defeatist range. And at this point the fight is basically over. It basically just turns into a 2 vs 1, which is really nice. Granbull is very threatening, but 2 vs 1, I can just take this thing out. Really nice, and even Eradicate, we just gang up on it, we jump him basically. And this was potentially a riskless fight. The strategy really worked out, so that's good. I had one run where I had to basically reset the whole run because I lost too many mods in this fight, so be very careful. At least after this we do get some more encounters. For example, in the Relic Passage, I get Geodude. Now this thing was Impish Nature, which is really good with good IVs. Nice mon. It becomes pretty useful, gets Stealth Rocks and Rapid Spin, and a Stellar Rock for priority, which is kind of cool. Castelia Gardens, I encounter Skitty, and this thing is... it's okay. It's got buff stats, so it's not garbage like usual. It gets Stab Strength, which is 85 base power, which is strong for this point in the game. It gets Fake Out, which is always nice. It gets the Normalize ability with Sucker Punch, so it gets a strong priority move. And it has some use. It evolves at level 25 instead of needing a Moonstone. After this, we go to Berg's gym and we just clear everyone out. The normal trainers are not too much of a threat. I would recommend just having a quick glance at the docks just so you don't get surprised by anyone. Now, this is where the run gets very, very challenging. Berg is a major gatekeeper. You have to be so careful against him. It's a double battle, and we just hate double battles, really. His team is ludicrously overpowered. He basically has Tinted Lensian Mega with Bug Gem Bug Buzz, which is insanely powerful, and you've got like 60, 70 base power moves max, and your best items are like Muscle Band or like the one Eviolite. Your power level is just much lower than Berg's. Stuff like Durant and Vespiquen, he's got double Intimidate, he's got Sword Stance, Focus Sash, Leavanny, Technician Cypher, which outspeeds almost literally everything at this point in the game. This fight is just insane, and no, I am not going for Victini. If you try to catch Victini before Bergen, good luck with that because you will really, really need it. I got really desperate for this fight and I basically had no answer. Because Simisear got nerfed, it's nowhere near as good in this fight as usual. So you almost always have to sacrifice mons in this fight, and that's exactly what I had to do. The only way I could reliably take out that Yanmega was I had to sack Dwebble. Dwebble has Sturdy, and the AI doesn't really see that ability, so the AI will just see kill on Dwebble, so both of them will waste their first turn attacking the Dwebble to break its Sturdy, then KO it. This means Simisear is free to get off a pretty strong Incinerate turn 1 and outspeed. Then turn 2 you can go for another Incinerate in KO that Yanmega. That Yanmega is an absolute monster. Yeah, it's unfortunate I had to sack him on the very first turn of the fight, but that's just where we're at, I guess. Delcatty is able to fake out the Masquerain because I don't want it bubble beaming Simisear. And then I'm able to take out the Yanmega, so at least that's gone, and Masquerain is pretty weak. But then Vespiquen comes out, the second Intimidator, and this thing is really bulky, and it's got 90 base power gem, and it's just really problematic. At this point I basically have to YOLO and steer the fight, really, and it really doesn't go as well as I would have liked. Helping Hand means that Incinerate can KO Masquerain, which is really cool, but now Simisear takes a lot of damage, and I don't have a good way of beating Durant. Simisear speed ties a Durant. The Durant has heat proof, by the way, so Incinerate is definitely not enough to KO it. And Durant can just go for Rock Slide, which nothing on my team can wall out. 3 of my mons are weak to it, and nothing else really damages the Durant. Fearow doesn't do much. Swallow has hidden power fire, but that's not going to do that much. Delcatty isn't damaging it. Magmar can definitely one-shot it, but Magmar does not want to take the Rock Slide because it's slower and it can get flinched. I have to switch in Fearow to get Intimidate, but this just is not working as well as I would have liked. I start getting a bit unlucky. The AI doesn't really attack the mons that I would like it to attack, and I have to keep pivoting around, and the Durant is just outspeeding me, going for double Rock Slides, and I just can't deal enough damage to it. Swallow is trying to chip it down with Hidden Power Fire, but it just misses the range to KO, which is really unfortunate. I just have to sack some mons here at this point because I'm in a really bad spot. Eventually, Fearow does end up going down. There's just nothing I can do at this point, and something will die this turn. The Cypher does so much damage that nothing on my team can reliably switch into it. Swallow is taking a lot of damage, and it's not dealing enough damage back, unfortunately. Magmar basically has to carry the rest of this fight. It's really not nice. It is able to deal a lot of damage. I do actually burn a Cypher, but I end up having a Lumberry. That's disappointing. And Swallow ends up going down, but at least it manages to take out the Vespiquen with it, which is pretty good. I basically have to take out the Cypher and the Leavanny, and this is really problematic because they're both faster than my mons, and I've already got multiple casualties, and this is just getting so scuffed. Oh yeah, and the Leavanny is Focus Sash. I have to sack Delcatty. Honestly, you don't need it that much at this point. But Leavanny is able to get taken out by Magmar and Simisear, thankfully. This fight, honestly, I was really tilted after this fight. I lost 4 mons, and honestly, they weren't the best mons. Like Swallow, Delcatty, and Dwebble, I can live without them. Dwebble would have been pretty useful. I was really tilted about losing Fearow. Jolly, Max Attack, Intimidate Fearow would have been so useful. I don't need it for Elisa, but still, I have 5 losses in total. Actually, I have 6 losses if you include the Tranquil, but I was able to get a Metite. But yeah, 6 losses. That is really not good at this point in the game. I mean, it could be much worse, honestly. Most runs statistically do not make it past this point. But at least the game somewhat eases up at this point. That's kind of debatable. To an extent, the game gets a bit easier. At least you have more options. We're definitely not out of the woods yet. Honestly, I could have done this fight better, but at the same point, I just didn't have any good offensive options. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But let's just carry on anyways. At least now I can evolve a lot of my mons like Samurott and Pog and Medicham. Really powerful. Blastoise. Colress is an absolute meme fight. The level cap being 38, I believe, is really generous. So you can over-level Colress by a huge amount, and you could just overpower his mons by raw stats, which is really cool. The Rotom is like the only real threat, and then Graveler with Eviolite is able to take that down, which is pretty good. Now after that we get some more encounters. I get Jolly Roughskin Sandshrew outside the Desert Resort, and I was able to synchronize a Jolly Nature, which is pretty good. I decided to delay Relic Castle. Relic Castle has good encounters, but you can technically get the guaranteed Volcarona later on. Now, I know what you're thinking, Volcarona is really broken. But it did get nerfed to where its moveset is really bad and only gets really powerful in the level 60s, but it is still an uber powerful mon later on, even with setup bans, so I decided to delay Relic Castle for now anyways. Oh yeah, I go into Joint Avenue, and another thing the developer nerfed, you can get any of the gems or pinch berries or really good items here, so you can't actually get any items. Kind of annoying. Hey look, I can call myself a funny name like Amogus or Susie Baka. Kill me now. This is so cringe. Oh, why did I say this on YouTube? I can't believe this. Anyway, let's just go on. Next boss fight, Lenore and Hogs. This is actually a really hard boss fight. Normally, double battle, permasand, big threats. However, Medicham and Samurott are actually able to really pop off in this fight, it turns out. So Medicham can go for a fake out, then Samurott with Life Orb can Sacred Sword the Gigalith and take that out. Then we just have to take out the Machamp, and this basically turns into a 2 versus 1, which is really good. I kind of messed up here because I forgot that Zen Headbutt is 90 accuracy and not 100. So if Medicham would have missed the Zen Headbutt on Machamp, I potentially would have had to dodge a crit. Luckily that did not happen, and obviously Samurott cannot get crits, so I don't need to worry about one hit from Stoutland. But thankfully I don't miss, I take out the Machamp, and the fight basically turns into a 2 versus 1. Samurott can actually go to the level cap because obviously you don't need it for Lisa. And this is also a really short split, not a lot of trainers. So yeah, once the fight becomes a 2 versus 1, you basically just win. Just gang up on the Unfezant. Mr. Mime with great defense and fake out and Graveler could just take out the final Unfezant, and that's me and Nimbasa. Now I get several encounters before Elisa. I get Emolga, which is something that most players will get in their run at some point because it's a Shikimon in a lot of areas. This was pretty useful. It had Motor Drive, which is always nice to have that electric immunity. Then I get Odino, which, like, you're going to get Odino at some point. This was Careful Nature, pretty good bulk, but it was Natural Cure. Unfortunately, it was not Regenerate, but you can't win them all, I guess. It's just how it is. Then in Lostlorn Forest, I get Execute. It's Bold Nature. It's not Harvest, but it's a useful mon, really. Its typing isn't that good, but it has some uses. I do catch it, though it takes kind of a while. Oh yeah, I had to dodge a crit against this optional trainer. I ran into this optional trainer without looking at them in the docks, and I wasn't really planned for them. I think some of my mons were a little bit damaged, and it got really dicey. I had to dodge a crit, but thankfully I managed to get out unscathed, though it got frighteningly close. Yikes, I need to be more careful with optionals. It reminds me of Vintage White, really. Yikes. So after that, I evolved my Elgium. I actually never really used this mon, apart from Roxy. It's kind of a shame, man. I fight the trainers in Elisa's gym, and they can actually be kind of scary. Like Light Ball Pikachu and Luxury with amazing coverage. Most of them are not so bad. There is that one trainer with Electrode who could be kind of threatening. I think I have to dodge a crit against that. Luxury is a big threat, but if you bait out Crunch, Samurott can actually switch in, outspeed it, and one-shot it with Sacred Sword, so that's pretty good to know. Oh god, this fight, I hate this fight. Yeah, Elisa's next. This is another really hard gym fight, and honestly, this was actually the hardest gym fight yet. Surprisingly, this was somehow harder than Berg. Now, usually when I beat Elisa, she's not that challenging, but because of the balance changes, it's harder now, and my strategies just weren't that good, and I got unlucky, and I misplayed, and almost everything that could have went wrong in this fight. At least I didn't wipe. Okay, it could have gone worse, but this is just a really challenging fight. Triple battle with really varied electric types. Yes, there are electric types and are weak to ground, but there's Emolga, which is a flying type, and Raichu, which has air balloon, and they also have really good offensive options to deal with ground types. And also you don't have very good ground type moves. You have Bulldoze, which is good, but that will deal major damage to your own mons, especially Mr. Mime, which has really bad physical defense. And Dig takes 2 turns to hit. And they can also use potentially Discharge to power up their own Lightning Rod mons. Raichu has insane coverage. The Zebstrika also has really good coverage and high attack and good speed. This fight is really rough. I don't think there is a guaranteed 100% strat. You just have to put together the best strategy you can and steer with what you have. But here's basically what happened in my Elisa fight. I really did not have a good strat for this. I decided to lead off with Mr. Mime, Sandslash in center, and Liepard. Mr. Mime has to be in the Electivire slot because it can outspeed and one-shot it, and I need to get that Electivire out of the way because that thing can wreak havoc on my team. Sandslash in the center, and that can one-shot a lot of things with Dig, but unfortunately Dig is a 2-turn move, so by the time I fire off the Dig, my other 2 mons are going to be pretty vulnerable. And Emolga is something that nothing on my team can really outspeed and one-shot, which is really unfortunate. I needed Liepard to fake that out to buy my other mons time to do stuff. Now, Sandslash is able to Dig and one-shot the Lantern, and I do take out the Electivire. But now Stunfisk comes out on the left slot, and I do not have a good answer for that because Mr. Mime doesn't really deal enough damage. And now Raichu is out in the center slot, and that thing has incredible coverage. Grass Knot and Icicle Crash hit most of the things in my team really hard. It basically 2-shots my whole team and outspeeds everything. This is going to be really dicey. I have no choice but to go for another Dig on Sandslash. I could go for Bulldoze, but that'll probably end up just one-shotting my Mr. Mime because Mr. Mime has negligible defense. I do manage to yawn the Emolga, but it only goes to sleep for 2 turns, so I probably didn't even do it. I should have just attacked it anyways. It gets to the point where basically I'm forced to sack mons because I'm just taking so much damage and I don't have good offensive pivots and good defensive strategies to use here. I switched my Mr. Mime into Magmar because Mr. Mime is a pretty important mon and it will be used later on, so I can't really afford to sack that. I can afford to sack Magmar though because I do have a Simisear anyways. In Liepard, I don't really need it that much anymore, especially because its IVs aren't that good, so I do start to incur some losses. Meganium can put in a lot of work, it's a bulky grass type. And the Zebstrika comes out and that thing is really threatening. Flare Blitz, Lunge, which is 4 times super effective against Executor. You don't really want to mess with that. I have no choice but to risk a crit, and Meganium is barely able to hold on. Sandslash does get taken out, but the Meganium barely takes the Flare Blitz, allowing me to basically 2-shot the Zebstrika by focusing fire on it. And I am able to eventually take out the Raichu as well, but I do lose the Executor, unfortunately. The Executor was pretty solid stats, but to be fair, Meganium kind of just does its job but better. With 3 losses and a lot of sacking and risking crits, this makes it so Emolga is the final mon. Honestly, there was a pretty good chance I could have just wiped here, but thankfully I am able to fake out the Emolga and take it out with Magmar. So I do end up beating this fight with 3 losses, and it easily could have been all 6 by the way, so I kind of lucked out. I just didn't have the best mons for this, and this is what I mean by how a lot of these battles are so tense, they're so clutch, they're stressful. A lot of times you just don't have good strats. You just have to peppy steer. Thank God I got past it, it could be way worse. I do have a lot of losses, I think 7 losses at this point. But honestly, this run, it's still salvageable for sure. You are almost always going to lose several mons by this point anyways. I go and do this back-to-back Team Plasma battle, and it ends up being really tense because I actually prepared for the wrong trainer, which is kind of annoying. I think I had to dodge 1 crit against a Swoobat, but I managed to get past that okay. The next boss fight is Heartbreaker Charles, and this was actually really easy. Yeah, this is considered like a big gatekeeper, a really hard fight, and usually it is, but for me it ended up being really easy, honestly. Mr. Mime can Dazzling Gleam, one-shot Krokorok, and put Sigilif in Volt Switch range for Emolga, so Emolga can switch into another mon. Medicham can fake out the Cell Guard, dealing good damage, and makes it so Final Gambit doesn't deal a lot of damage. Then Mr. Mime, Samurott, and Medicham, they basically clean up everything. They clean up the left and middle slot. Drodagon, Buffalance, and the Crustle, they all get two-shotted, and they all get outsped. And the Acelgor's like the only thing that's left. I just take that out at the end. And I even have stuff like Shell Armor, Blastoise in reserve, which can always take hits. The strategy just ends up working really well. Samurott is just really powerful mon. Shell Armor makes it so reliable also. It's tankier than Blastoise, which is kind of funny. The Blastoise has really bad IVs in Lonely Nature, which might actually be the worst one, but the Blastoise still end up putting in a lot of work. Anyways, go to the Sky Arrow Bridge, or Charizard Bridge, or whatever it's called, to Driftveil City, and I get a Hoppip. You would think this is kind of sucky, but I end up actually doing something against Clay, so that worked out. Swanna is a pretty solid mon to get to. Then I go into Clay Tunnel and I get a Palpitoad, which is okay. I guess it means that I don't have to get Swampert from the Nimbasa City train boss fight, which is pretty interesting. Oh yeah, speaking of that, in Route 6 I end up fishing and I get a Barboach. I actually want to get a Lantern, but Wishcash actually got buffed and it's got really good stats. Wishcash is actually about on par with Swampert in terms of stats. I think it actually has better moveset as well at this point, so it's pretty cool. I like Wishcash in this game, it's pretty solid. Then I go and fight some other trainers. There's quite a few trainers on the way to Charge Zone Cave, none of them are too challenging. I go to Charge Zone and I get my encounter before Clay and I get a Feral Seed. And wow, this thing is really good. You know how good Feral Seed is. Anyone who's played Pokemon knows that Feral Seed is a Pokemon. Great typing, good moveset, great ability, great bulk. This ends up being calm nature with good IV, so it's a bulky Baka. Really nice. Just evolve some random mons in my box. And now what I do is I backtrack to Nimbasa City, and now I decide to do the optional boss fight with Rosa to go get the Hone starter. At this point they're really easy because I overleveled them by such a big amount. Then I decide to pick my Hone starter. Now they all have uses. Usually Sceptile would be amazing, but that thing got nerfed really hard by the developer because everyone was using it. Now Sceptile probably isn't worth it anymore. Swampert is a fine option, but I have Barboach and Seismitoad anyway, so I don't need that. This leaves Blaziken. I do have Medicham, but Medicham isn't as fast as Blaziken, and Blaziken does have some good fire moves and it can still be pretty useful. So I get Blaziken, it's a pretty nice mon. Now we go into the next boss fight in Rude. This fight was really easy, but he actually got buffed significantly, and now he has 2 extra mons in his team, so he's definitely more of a challenge. But I ended up actually doing this fight almost literally risklessly. It did take a lot of planning, I think like literally half an hour of planning to do this fight, but it ended up going really well. He leads up with Buffalon, and I decide to lead up with Samurott with Citrus Berry. I take the hit, I bait in Chandelure, and I make it so Samurott will always bait an Energy Ball. I use this to go into Emolga, which can always take the hit. Then it Volt Switches, goes into Audino to tank the Shadow Ball obviously. Then I go into Blaziken because it will go for Mystical Fire. Blaziken will just melt the Shadow Ball crit, so you don't want that. And now because the Chandelure is chipped from Volt Switch, Blaziken can go for Dig and take it out of this range, which is really cool. Fairthorn can somewhat counter the Zoroark which comes out, but it keeps U-turning into Stoutland. Stoutland can be a bit of a threat because it is Life Orb, but I managed to Leech Seed it on the switch in when the AI tries to U-turn into it, and then I can just stall it out easily. Just keep baiting out Fire Fang and normal move and put it between Fairthorn and Blaziken and just goes down. Then just the whole team can just gang up and Zoroark jump it. Oh yeah, there is Swoobat, but Mr. Mime is actually a guaranteed counter because it can always take a crit, outspeed it, fake out and power gem it. Yeah, Mr. Mime's a really good mon by the way. If you hatch one in an egg, then definitely you will get some good use out of it. Then, yeah, pretty easy fight. This actually went really well. It's nice to have an easy boss fight for once. Okay, now what I do, and this actually got way more tense than it should have. I decided to clear out Clay's Gym. Now, because I'm not too good at doing the puzzle in Clay's Gym, and you can't see very well, I decided to prepare and take out all of the trainers. in there first so I can safely make my way towards clay. If you don't prepare, some of these trainers can actually KO your mons. They're really dangerous. There is this one trainer here, for example, who was really dangerous. He had Dragon Dance Wish Cash, and I did not have a good answer for it. I potentially could have lost a mon to it, but thankfully Samurott was able to come in. It went for wave crash, which ends up dealing enough recoil damage to itself so Samurott can KO it with priority Aquajet. If it went for Earthquake, I might be in trouble, but yeah, make sure you prepare for the trainers in this gym. Do not take any chances. You're almost like out of the hardest part of the game. Just play it safe. There is this one trainer who has a Sheer Force, Needle King and Needle Queen. Make sure you prepare for that and you're not taken by surprise. But I do thankfully manage to take out all these trainers without any losses. That was really good. So now we're at clay, and oh boy, this might actually be potentially the hardest fight in the whole game up until this point. This is a very encounter reliant fight. If you don't have specific mons or specific IVs or strats, you will literally not be able to counter his mons, and you're almost always forced to sack mons to his fight. Demon, Sheer Force, Life Orb, Needle King can basically two-shot everything in the game and outspeed a lot of mons. Plus Speed Nature Garchomp in Perma Sand with Rough Skin is extremely hard to take out. There's barely any ice types in this game at this point. Even if you did, yeah, it's got Yachi Berry. It's just a very dangerous team. Shell Armor Torterra. If Rockhead Torterra on Clee's team gets one Shell Smash up and you don't have a good answer, you're literally wiping to it. So you need to prepare for everything. And oh yeah, did I mention the Swords Dancing Sand Rush Excadrill? Yeah, very nice. This fight is absolutely ridiculous. I literally spent like 90 minutes planning for this fight. However, I did manage to cheese this fight really easily. I found a perfect strategy after so much planning, but I got lucky. It's only because I had very specific encounters that I was able to pull the strategy off. So here's what I did. If you're planning for this fight, then good luck. Hopefully you got encounters that are as good as mine. I feel like if I were to get back to this fight in another run, it would be much harder. But here's what I did anyways. So Seismitoad, this is actually the least threatening mon. You can actually counter this or check it with a lot of mons, but I hard counter it with Ferrothorn, and this mon is pivotal for this fight. Ferrothorn can basically almost completely wall out the Seismitoad. Then I can Leech Seed it to heal myself up and go for triple layers of Spike, making it so the rest of his team basically come in with 25% less health. That is huge. And then I go Resto Chesto and I time it so when the Seismitoad KOs itself from Leech Seed, Drain and the Iron Barbs, Ferrothorn is at full health and the triple spikes are up. This is a perfect opening. This makes it so Garchomp will get baited in and it will go for either Earthquake or Brick Break. But because Ferrothorn's at full health and it's a bulky Baka, it can always take even a crit and it can go for Bulldoze. There's a reason why I'm doing Bulldoze. After taking the hit, I still have good amount of health in Ferrothorn, so the Garchomp will either go for ground or fighting move. Now the thing is, I was actually potentially willing to sack Jumpluff here. That was the original plan, was to sack Jumpluff so I can get a semi-sweep going, but it turned out, wait, I actually didn't need to sack it. There's actually another way to do this even better. At this point I know that Garchomp is going to go for Dragon Claw, so I can use this to go into Mr. Mime, and because I use Bulldoze on Garchomp, it no longer outspeeds me and it's damaged enough so Mr. Mime can just destroy it with a fairy move. That's really good, especially because this now baits in the Needle King, which is probably the most threatening mon on his team, but Mr. Mime can just outspeed and one-shot it, which is really good. Now Torterra comes in and this thing is an incredible threat. However, because Mr. Mime is so frail, that's actually a good thing because Torterra will always see KO with a move, so it will always want to attack. Here I decide to release my sack, which is Magmar. This was a planned sack, though it potentially actually could have beaten a Torterra, which is pretty funny, but it didn't matter anyways. I don't really need Magmar anymore. I've already got Simisear and Blaziken. But Magmar goes down, so Medicham can basically come in and KO a few mons. Now, this Medicham is Bold Nature with literally 1 attack IV, which is really bad. However, it didn't end up mattering. With 3 layers of spikes, it comes in, beats a Torterra, and it is able to just one-shot the Mamoswine as well. And it also one-shots the Excadrill too. If it went for Earthquake turn 1 and got a crit, that would have been really bad. That would have been really unfortunate because I would have lost my Medicham. Samurott would have been able to revenge KO the Excadrill 1v1 usually. So I still would have won, but yeah, I get through this fight with only 1 loss, which is really good. Usually you're forced to sack at least 2 mons or something. I actually felt really happy because I spent so much time planning and it actually paid off, so that's really good. Hopefully things get better from here on out. So, now I decide to get my Driftvale City Giftmon. You can get either the Sinnoh starters, or you can get, you know, the guaranteed Zora, which is always Hazy Nature with, I think, literally perfect IVs. I'd say to get that. It's a really strong mon, it's hard to go wrong with it. Do the PWT, really easy. Then I fight all these Plasma Grunts. Most of them are really easy, though there was this one Breloom that was kind of popping off my team because I didn't prepare for it, and I was kind of rushing it, and there was a Shell Smash Omastar, which is kind of annoying, but you can over level this part, because now the level cap is level 55, and there's not that many trainers in the split, so you can try and play this safe. I would say don't be greedy. Next, the boss fight against Hugh, and this is really easy because you can over level him by such a big margin. The funny thing was, I actually planned for the wrong Hugh team. For some reason, I thought he had Emboar when he clearly had Serperior, so I planned for the wrong mons, but ended up literally not mattering. Like, Samurott just counters the camera up anyways. Electric gets countered by Meganium hard. Meganium also just beats Flygon along with Audino. Flygon can be a threat if it sets up Dragon Dances, but Audino can just wall type completely because it's a bug type in this game. And that's pretty much it. It was a really easy fight, honestly. Oh yeah, now we have to go through Chargestone Cave, and this area actually got changed, so a lot of the trainers are now mandatory. You have to do a lot of these fights. There was just one triple battle here which I was not prepared for. I did not think this mandatory trainer would be a triple battle. It was kind of scary, but thankfully this one was not too bad because the mons weren't too threatening and I'm much higher level, so at least that was okay. Oh yeah, there was this one Slowbro where my Jumpluff had to dodge a crit on because I didn't plan for it, but honestly Jumpluff, it's not the most important mon. Oh, but this, by the way, was the most tilting part of the run. Okay, so there's a Flareon, and you know Flareon's kind of a demon, especially because it got buffed. This Flareon, it only has 2 moves. Flare Blitz and Last Resort. Last Resort is a 140 base power move. Now, I really misplayed. I switched in Blastoise, which can counter it. Except Blastoise got burnt, which is really annoying, and Blastoise has really bad defense stats for some reason. I decided to fake out when I could just went for Bubble Beam taking it out. Because of that, I took extra burn damage, and now this means that Flareon actually sees kill on my Blastoise with Last Resort, and because it actually used its one other move, it can now use Last Resort. Remember, this Flareon, it only has 2 moves, so it can use Last Resort. Nothing on my team can safely counter this Flareon. Even Simisear, it will just get KO'd by Last Resort crit easily. Obviously, it's going to go for Last Resort because it sees kill with Last Resort. It does not see kill with Flare Blitz. It's a Blastoise. So I'm like, okay, let's go into Ferrothorn because Ferrothorn could just tank the Last Resort and just go back into something else that can tank the Flare Blitz, right? No. For some reason, this Flareon, it just predicted my switch. It just went for Flare Blitz on the Ferrothorn switch, and it obviously roasted my Ferrothorn. Now, I was so salty at this. Just, why? I know Gen 5 AI is really sussy. I get it, but like, it saw kill with Last Resort. It did not see kill with Flare Blitz. but it went for Flare Bliss anyways. Like, what? Usually the AI is not random. I just have no idea. Ferrothorn is such a good mon. In the short time that I had it, I brought it to almost all of the random trainer fights in Chargestone Cave. It's one of those mons that comes to almost literally every single boss fight. It's such a good mon. And I lost it over something really dumb. I misplayed and I also got unlucky with a burn, and the AI was just being really sussy random. This is so obnoxious. I'm starting to get tilted, honestly. Yikes. At least I was able to take out this Wobbuffets with a Yawn Blastoise. Ugh. So now I continue on Route 6, getting ready for Skyla's Gym. Oh yeah, there's another mandatory trainer here, which was not mandatory before the patch. It's another triple battle, and yeah, I really do need to start looking at the docs for every single trainer now. I feel like the normal trainers are really starting to ramp up in difficulty. People say, oh, the game gets easy after early game, only to an extent. Not after the patch, it doesn't. This fight was really demonic. I had to dodge, I think, 2 crits. Some of the AI was also being random, like the Unpheasant saw kill with Hyper Voice, but decided to go for Hurricane instead, even though the AI should be prioritizing spread moves because it's a triple battle. I don't even know, Gen 5 AI is so sussy, but thank God I did not lose anything here, though it was really close. I almost lost my Zoroark. Okay, Celestial Tower, and here I get Duskull. That's pretty cool, honestly. And oh yeah, my last encounter before Skyla. Zebstrika. Yo, that's a pretty good mon. Electro type, I like that. However, I did not have an easy time catching this. Now, something you should know, this game gives you Dream Balls. Now, I assume that Dream Balls, they work the same as they did in Radical Red, where if you catch a mon with the Dream Ball, it automatically gives you the hidden ability. Zebstrika's hidden ability was Lightning Rod, and I kind of wanted that instead of like Mortar Drive. So I wanted to test if Zebstrika had like Mortar Drive or Sap Sipper, and it ended up having Sap Sipper because I used Meganium to Leech Seed it. But because I gave Zebstrika the Sap Sipper boost, when it went for Stomp on Mr. Mime, it got a crit and was able to KO my Mr. Mime in one shot. Even though it's 14 levels lower. And it's a 65 base power non-stab move. Like, I know Mr. Mime is frail, but good god. And this Zebstrika was so hard to catch because I was so scared that like something would kill. I should have like fake outed it with Medicham. Oh god, I lost Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime got KO'd, it got blasted. I was so annoyed about this. Mr. Mime was such a good mon. I mean, Zebstrika's good too, but that's so obnoxious. Oh god, I'm misplaying so hard now. I'm just full. I'm getting really tilted. Salty. God damn it. Oh yeah, that was actually not my last encounter. There's actually a Mistrathlon Cave, and I get the guaranteed Kangaskhan. I actually like Kangaskhan for Skyla. Like, pretty good stats for a normal type. It gets Fake Out and Strength, which are strong stab moves with Silk Scarf. It also gets Sucker Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. Early Bird, so Sleep doesn't meme on it so much. Gets Scrappy as well. Pretty safe, solid mon, honestly. I like it. It's good for Skyla. I catch this. And now, things start to get even harder. There's this guaranteed mandatory double battle in it is Demon Mode. This is basically turned into a boss fight. Before this fight was cannon fodder, but the developer turned this into a full out boss fight. 6 mons, double battle. It's basically a Tailwind team. You have a Prankster Whimsicott with Tailwind, and then you have 5 slow powerhouses like Huge Power, Mawile, Bellydrum, Azumarill, Granbull, and I did not have a good time with this. I had to fake out the Whimsicott, and I was able to stop it from using Tailwind because I had a eject button, so that's good. Now I just have to like take out the rest of these mons, and it was not an easy time. I did have to dodge a few crits, which I got really lucky, and the Clefable was being really annoying. The Mabwell also just hits so hard with huge power. Eventually I did have to sack Audino to ensure a safe victory, but to be fair, Audino, it's not a very useful mon. It's not regenerator and its stats, its IVs are not really that good, so it's the worst mon in my box. I can afford to lose it. This fight is just really rough. The Colrus fight was pretty tricky and did not go to plan. I mean, his lead was pretty easy. What I did was I purposely manipulated the fight so there would be perma-rain so my water types could deal more damage. The Mega Tyranitar, it's only got Aqua Tail and I think Flash Cannon, so Shell Armor Blastoise can wall it out pretty well, deal a lot of damage, and it can use Rapid Spin to get rid of the Stealth Rocks. You don't want to deal with Stealth Rocks in this fight. It will Whirlwind you, but you switch Blastoise back in and Rapid Spin and keep using Surfs until it goes down. So that's pretty easy. The F00 is also really easy to counter because its normal Steel and Dusclops can actually wall it out with Eviolite, Will-O-Wisp and Brick Break. So that's pretty easy. MT2 is also pretty easy for me to handle, though this thing is a humongous threat if you don't have an answer for it. Shift Gear with Gear Grind, Earthquake and Wild Charge. Once it sets up, it could potentially just start destroying your team, especially if it gets crits. It's also Steel Fire with Air Balloon and Flash Fire, so it's pretty hard to hit super effectively. Thankfully, Whiscash is actually almost a complete counter to this, because Whiscash can switch in, use Breaking Swipe to pop its Air Balloon and lower its attack, incentivizing it to set up again instead of attacking, and now that its item is gone, you're free to just go for a 4x super effective Earthquake and destroy it, and Whiscash is tanky enough to take a hit from it, so that's really good. But the real threat was UFO. This thing is so obnoxious to handle. It's electric flying with recover and leftovers and really good coverage. Almost nothing will hit. I think this thing's only weak to like rock and ice, but there's almost literally no ice types at this point in the game. So it's just so hard to handle. I was able to paralyze it and try to whittle it down, but it just kept healing itself up and I couldn't really do much to it. I did lose Dusclops because of a misplay, because I thought I had one more turn of rest when I actually didn't. That was really dumb on my part. That was really frustrating. But to be fair, nothing really hard counters this UFO anyway, so I probably would have had to sack at some point anyways. This UFO is just it's so tanky. It heals itself up for days. It deals so much damage. Aeroblast is a high crit rate, so if you get crit, even Emolga takes a humongous amount of damage. I eventually was able to take this out with Seismitoad under Paralysis in the rain, but it was just so rough. I would have really liked to have done this without any losses, but that's just how it went. Now for Skyla, I tried to clear out all the trainers in Skyla's gym because they're really threatening. I think most of them are mandatory, and you do not want to accidentally run to them. These mons are actually really scary, so make sure you're prepared for them. Take out all the trainers in Skyla's gym. Zebstrika is actually really strong. It outspeeds almost literally everything and can one-shot pretty much everything in the gym. There are some exceptions, and I think I had to dodge like 1 or 2 crits at some point. Like this Pelipper kept getting confusion hacks, which is really annoying, but I was able to make my way to Skyla without any losses, so okay, at least that went pretty well. Okay, time for Skyla, and yeah, this is the hardest fight in the whole game until this point. It's such an RNG fight. If you don't have the right mons for this, you will just lose. The leads are Pidgeot with Normal Gem, No Guard, Hurricane, Gliscor in the center with Elemental Fangs and Earthquake, and Jumpluff with Prankster Sleep Powder, Tailwind, Flying Gem, Hurricane, and Giga Drain. You know what, I'm just going to get straight to the point. I wiped this fight. Yeah, I literally did not have an answer for this team. Emolga can KO a chunk of these mons along with the Zebstrika, but I have literally zero answer for Gliscor. Nothing can deal good damage to Gliscor. The only thing is maybe Blastoise with a water move, and even then it's a 2-shot. And even Kangaskhan with Ice Punch does like 70%, but they both get outsped, and Jumpluff will just 2-shot them. Kangaskhan will get one-shotted by a Hurricane Crit. They can also get put to sleep. So my first turn, I am forced to deal with a Jumpluff first. I have to fake out and attack a Jumpluff with Ice Punch. Otherwise I'll just wreak havoc on my team. And once Gliscard starts attacking, I basically have no answers. And I do take out the Pidgeot, but the other mons just start coming in and they just completely destroy my team. Aerodactyl, I think it's got Focus Sash, so I can't even one-shot it. Togekiss is pretty bulky and it's got really good coverage and really good stats, and my team just cannot handle this. Blastoise doesn't really do enough damage because its only strong move is Surf, which will just destroy my own mons. Emolga cannot take a lot of damage. Simisear basically does nothing. I have almost literally nothing in my box that's really good for this fight. I had to bring Wishcash and Simisear and they just don't really do much for this fight. Zebstrika can put in work, but against Gliscor, what am I doing? Literally nothing beats Gliscor. That basically makes me wipe. And the fight basically ended. And that's Nuzlocke over. It was a really anticlimactic way to end it, but to be fair, a triple battle with all these threats, if you don't have the right mons, what can you do? You basically just have to pray, and this time I wasn't able to get past. This run was absolutely crazy. It was a pretty stressful and clench experience through and through, from start to here. The game is definitely harder than the previous updates. It's definitely possible to get through this, but you're going to have to be really lucky, because there's so many points where you could just get completely screwed by RNG. That being said, I did enjoy this game, but I do think the balancing needs to be improved a bit more. But that's basically the end of this run, and I did enjoy it, but it can be a really draining experience. So that basically concludes the video. I will be working on new content. I do want to play Emerald Row again, because that game is so goated. I also want to play Pokemon Run and Bun, the new Emerald ROM hack, which is kind of like Emerald Kaizo mixed with Inclement Emerald. It's pretty cool. And hopefully I'll be making a good comeback to YouTube. I hope this video gets good views. This time I did the video without a script, so you can tell that my dialogue is a little bit more clunky, but sitting down and writing a 5,000 word essay is just not fun. Script writing is just really tedious. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you'll be seeing me again pretty soon, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.